Cranberry Flats. We were here in the summer, but it's such a nice day today. +3, 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So we thought we'd go for a little winter hike. Winter sun. And we've never been to Cranberry Flats in the winter, but it's so nice out that I had to just go today. Don't get too many days in Saskatchewan like this in January 27th. So last week we showed you guys some training exercises Cassie learned. So this week we're going to show you how she was trained to do them. So we'll show you how you train them. So we'll do that at home later. While we're back in the house, we're going to show you those training exercises that we showed last week. And we're going to show you how Cassie learned those at her obedience class. So we're going to do the recall. So Kulika's going to call Cassie, and she's got to come and sit right in front of Kulika. And to get that, Kulika, just before the dog gets there, Kulika has to bend at the knees and hold the treat in the middle. Then you're forcing the dog to sit in the middle there, and it doesn't always work, but you got to keep working on it until the dog does it. And then if she's not right straight when she first gets there, you have to move her into position, like move over then. Like she's got to basically come into that position after the recall. So we're going to try that. Okay, bring the dog.
Heel.
Sit. Sit. And then Kulika's going to call the dog. Then the dog, just before the dog gets there, she's going to bend a bit at the knees. She's going to position the treat down lower so that the dog lines up right in the middle of her and sits there. So if the dog is crooked a bit, Kulika's got to straighten her out. Okay.
Cassie, come. Sit. Perfect. Good. Good pup.
Very good. So yeah, if the dog is crooked, you have to move a bit with the treat. At the level of the dog, the treat has to be at the level, and then you force her to sit when she gets there straight in front of you. And if she doesn't go straight in front of you, then like I said, you have to try to position the treat and yourself to line up with the dog. So now we're going to show you how to make the dog stay. Like now it's your puppy here and you're trying to train it. So Kulika will have the dog beside her. Then she'll have the leash in her hand. Keep the leash. Then she'll tell her to stay. And then you slowly go in front of the dog. You leave the dog there. Like Kulika will have the dog in front of her. And you have the leash in your hand though yet. And if the dog starts to come, you don't reward her for that. Like you only reward the dog when the dog will stay for a few seconds by itself and not follow you out. Like she'll only come as far as the leash goes. Because a dog that isn't trained isn't going to let you go across the yard or the room and tell her to stay. She'll follow you. So you start out with short distances. Then you can increase it later, but it takes a while to train the dog. Like, you got to be patient. But after a while, it picks it up. Okay, try a stay exercise.
Kassie, stay.
Then she holds the leash. She goes in front.
Stay.
When the dog stays for a few seconds, she'll reward it.
Good. Good dog.
Good dog.
Stay.
And then, later you can get a longer leash and go farther back. See how far you can go back. And then after a while,
Stay.
you can drop the leash and you can go farther back. But it takes time. Like, even Kassie, sometimes you'll say stay and then you'll go too far in front of her and she'll run to you. So, it takes time
Stay.
for them to really grasp it too.
Good.
But you wouldn't be doing this the first lesson. Like, you try it with the leash on and just go in front of the dog a little bit. And then when the dog stays for a few seconds, reward it. So this is a little more advanced now. Like, the dog has done this a lot. So, like we showed you last week. But to start out with, keep the leash and just go in front of the dog as long as the leash is. So now we're going to show the leave it exercise. The dog will be leashed up like this. And the point of this exercise is, if something falls on the floor or you encounter something and when you're walking, you don't want the dog to eat it, you say leave it. So how we were taught to do this with Kassie was, you throw something down on the ground like a biscuit or whatever, some treat, and you have the dog leashed up, and if the dog goes for it, you say leave it, and you pull back on the leash. You don't let the dog get it, because when the dog learns the exercise, she won't go for it. But okay, the dog will go for it, you pull back on the leash, then you give her a treat, you reward her, because she didn't get it. Then you keep doing this until she stops pulling on the leash, because then she knows that she's going to get a reward from you. And in the real world, you won't always get a reward for it, but you can praise it when you're somewhere and hug it and say what a good dog. And if you have her favorite toy with you, you can give her the toy. Like, you don't always have treats in your hand, maybe, but to teach the dog this exercise, you have the treats, so it knows something good happens when you give the command leave it. Though something good is going to happen if I leave it. So she'll either get a toy or praised or a treat. So we're going to try that. So I'm going to throw a piece of wiener on the floor, and then she's going to say leave it. If the dog goes for it, she's going to pull it back. Then if the dog stops going for it, she's going to reward it. So let's try that.
Leave it. Good. Good pup.
So if the dog had never done this before, she would have tried to get that treat. But she has done it before, so she knows. But that's why you have the leash, because as soon as the dog goes for it, you yell leave it and you pull the dog back. Then as soon as the dog stays back, you reward it right away because it backed up. So that was all the exercises we wanted to show you. And like I've said before, I'm no expert at it. I'm just telling you what we learned. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll try to answer. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is some bonus footage. Kulika was teaching the dog something the other day that I didn't know about, so go ahead.
Back, 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 back. Good.
Very good.
Good pup.